You now are listening to the audio podcast of Prisoners of Hope, the antidote to what ails your heart. I'm your host, Dr. Deborah Whitson. So come on in, pull up a chair, and open up your mind as you get ready to receive the download that hope will bring. Hi, hey, it is Dr. D, and welcome to this episode of Prisoners of Hope. And today we're going to give you stories. I have a series starting. If you listen to the podcast, the first part of the series was the man behind the music, and he talked about, how he came about being a musical genius. And I'm going to continue the stories. I want to bring you pathway stories because I told you that God, for his namesake, will not let your feet slumber because he doesn't slumber. So we all have stories, and miracles are not just the parting of the Red Sea. We have parting of the Red Sea every day. The beautiful sunset, the beautiful mountains, the fact we can hear and walk and see. Hey, we've got miracles every day. So today I'm interviewing a real good friend of mine. We've known each other about 20 years, Deborah? Maybe longer?
Yeah, and we go back so far in time, and it's really fascinating to think about how our lives intertwined, and they intertwined later in life because we didn't know all of these intimate things about each other. It's just amazing the way God has put us together.
That's right, just at the right time. And the person I'm interviewing, her name is Dr. Deborah Brazeal. And could you tell us a little bit about your background, where you were raised, your family?
Absolutely. So I'm from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I'm from the I'm from the very deep South. Roll Tide, by the way. And I am a preacher's kid.
Oh,
So my dad was a Southern Baptist preacher. My mother was a professor at Alabama in foods and nutrition back in the 50s. And so they didn't have me until later in life. In fact, my mom was 40 and my dad was 50. And that
wow.
was very unusual at that time. And my brother's only 2 years older, so it wasn't a big surprise. And it was, Alabama was just a great place to grow up. I was kind of a tom girl and I loved adventures and I loved, climbing trees and playing with the boys and swinging on vines and that sort of thing. Um, but I will say that it wasn't all perfect. I had a lot of allergies and they actually turned out to be life threatening.
Wow.
And um, my dear sweet mom, who had by this time retired before my brother and I were born, would have to go to school and get the lesson plans and teach me at home, or I would have been held back.
Mm-mm.
And that is, I think, as I look back on it, during those times when I was lying in bed and sick again, you know, with 104 fever or something ridiculous like that. Um, I really think that Jesus came, and I had sort of this very intimate, personal relationship with Jesus starting when I was young, very young, and all of this was happening before I was 5, and then the allergies continued into my elementary school years, and then I eventually I outgrew them, but I would go into our church, and there was this huge stained glass picture of Jesus, and I felt like I had to go see him every Sunday, and, my dad at this time, he didn't have a church, he was older, so we just went to the First Baptist Church, of course, and, downtown Tuscaloosa. And, that was my parents always knew that I had to go in the back of the church so I could see Jesus on my way in.
You know,
But
Deborah, something that's very interesting, and I've noticed a common thread behind these pathway stories is that God slows us down so he can talk to us. There is a time
amen.
when we have a downtime. We might be sick. You were young.
Mhm.
Yours was very young. You got that foundation young, but some of us get it older where there was COVID. You guys know what I'm talking about. You're shaking your head, right? Yeah, everybody's out there because COVID slowed everybody's butt down. And they begin to readjust what was important. So your slow down time was at a very young age. That's a blessing.
It was, and I never knew it at the time, and it taught me discipline, because with my allergies, there were certain foods I couldn't eat, like chocolate, peanut butter, I mean, Deborah, I would go to, birthday parties, and, of course, it's chocolate cake, it's ice cream, I can't eat
Right.
anything, right? And I'm just dying, and fortunately, I didn't rebound and just go crazy with it. Oh, I have to say I do have chocolate every day, but, um, yeah, those are the foods I love.
Every day, I think you did read
Pretty much 100%, yeah. And, so but it taught me that, I can't always get what I want, I
Mm.
suppose.
Wow.
So, Deborah, I had like this great foundation, and then, um, my dad understood grace. And I think that's so rare, particularly for a Southern Baptist. He was not a
Mhm.
hellfire and brimstone.
Mhm.
He let us do some things which I think parents wouldn't let their kids do. Like we went to see Kiss and Alice Cooper and these crazy rock groups when we were teenagers. And I don't know how my dad trusted us to go. Um,
Wow.
I mean, truly, but he he kind of gave us a rope, a little bit of a leash. And
Mhm.
I really think that that is why I didn't rebel in extraordinary fashion.
Oh, I see.
um, because he gave me some autonomy and freedom. But I also have to say that dad had a shotgun. And yeah,
Well, listen,
and
hey, Deborah, my father used to clean his guns while he talking about date.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So, it was not. I mean, it did happen on a couple occasions. I won't go into great detail about it, but a boyfriend saw my dad's shotgun. Yeah, like in the car. He kind of drove up and had a little conversation with him, and he looked in the car, and there was dad's shotgun right beside him. Yeah, yeah. That's the Southern way. And it's funny because the point came across, and dad didn't really have to say anything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My father didn't say nothing. He just cleaned the gun.
Right,
And
right.
and every now and then he would look up, say, "What time you gonna bring me back?"
Yeah. That's my daughter you're dealing with. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Wow. That's interesting. So you went on and you graduated. That didn't hold you back,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
got an advanced degree. Can you tell us about that process?
Oh, wow. Yeah, so, I went to the University of Alabama, and I got my undergrad in psychology, and I thought I wanted to be a psychologist, but there was still kind of a stigma about that.
Mhm.
And I ended up going to the business school and getting my PhD there, but eh, really specializing in org behavior, motivation, team building, leadership, and then entrepreneurship and creativity. And I
Mhm.
really felt like I found my calling, because there's a lot of psychology in it.
Mhm.
Um, that process of even getting into the doctoral program when I was so young,
Mhm.
when I was 22, was one that was fraught with a lot of doubt. And,
Mhm.
my parents were supporting me, but I could tell they were even a little bit okay, you sure you want to do this? You know, this is like a little bit daunting. Are you sure you can do this?
Mhm.
And I do remember, at that time, praying about it and, just hoping and praying that things would work out. Because my career was real important to me.
Mm.
Growing up in the South, I just saw that, some women didn't fully develop their potential. Okay.
Right.
And I'll just say it. I didn't want to be reliant on a man for money.
Mhm.
And so I knew that I had to get an advanced degree. I had to do something where I could make a good living.
Mhm.
And so this was really important. And then getting the doctorate was, it's really difficult. The program was such that the professors figured that it was like boot camp. And,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
I mean, you went
Uh,
through this too.
yeah, how many people can I, flunk? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that they would literally like, intimidate you and
Mhm.
not yell at you, but, almost to
Mhm.
the point where you're beginning to doubt yourself. And so,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have made it without Jesus, and I wouldn't have made it without my parents either, frankly, because they uplifted me. And I'm really glad that I stuck with U of A, that I
Mhm.
didn't leave town because I desperately wanted to get my
Oh,
doctorate
yeah.
somewhere else. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
let's get out of this place.
It was
Uh,
my first semester, I wanted to leave.
exactly. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
and
was crazy.
you said that you had doubt. Can you talk about that process a little more? Because I know a lot of people we're praying, we're waiting for something, but we tend to have situational amnesia. By the way, that's the
Mhm.
episode. Listen to it.
Yeah, you
Uh,
should go into
situational
detail on that.
amnesia. Yeah, we forget.
Yeah.
So, could you talk a little bit about that process of
Oh
doubt and how
gosh.
you got through it in graduate school?
In grad school. So, I think I've like suppressed a lot of it.
Yes.
I know I really do because
Horrific.
it was like
Mm.
like I said, it was like boot camp. It was also a very worrisome time. I felt like I was sort of like my professor saw me at my worst, my most,
Mhm.
I was easy to get down on myself. And can I do this? Can I make this? And I was getting A's and I was having doubts, right? Am I
Mhm.
actually going to make it through? Am I going to be able to study for my comps and pass my comps and write a dissertation? And I just felt like, maybe I'm not enough. Maybe I can't do this. Maybe I'm not smart enough. And the problem with it, as you know, is that if you were to get kicked out or quit, you have nothing. You have nothing. You
Yeah.
don't have a master's degree. You have absolutely nothing. And so the heat was really on. And I know I would have, um, like times where I would just lose it,
Oh, yeah.
like lose it, and go home and just, be completely enraged. And, I had a little bit of a temper, can we say?
Just a little.
Um, yeah. And, then I was very emotional.
Mhm.
And not that I'm not now, we all have emotions we have to contend with, but it's just part of being human. Um,
Mhm.
but I felt so up and down. And then I'd have to go to God. And then I was really into cycling and running, and honestly, I don't think I would have made it through without that either. I could escape, and you know about running, girl.
Yeah, because 'cause we're both runners, yeah.
Both runners, and, that's why my knees are in the shape they're in,
Oh, yeah,
with the
yeah.
stress.
You're just a couple years behind me.
Yeah, that's right, with the running and the cycling.
Uh-huh.
And so between all of that and, God gave me great parents,
Yeah.
and ones that were always there. I could always talk to my mom and tell her, everything terrible that was going on, and she always took my side and always thought, I could murder somebody and my mom would take it from me.
Well, that's okay, darling.
Right. You they had it coming, didn't they? Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I have to say this before this morning, as I was getting my tea, um, a hummingbird came right outside the window and up to my face, and I couldn't miss
Wow.
it. And that is my mom's favorite. And before she passed, I saw a hummingbird and I
Oh,
knew that her death was imminent. So she's here. So
she's here.
she's
She's
here.
here.
And yeah, and I just, I feel like in some ways I'm, living out that her legacy, right? And
You know
so,
what I call it? I call it kisses from God. The little thing my mother
oh,
I call it God kisses from God.
that's beautiful.
Because my mother liked butterflies, and just
Yeah.
when I'm at my weakest point and
Hmm.
I have, like, a sanctuary, like, in the summer, I have all these flowers, and I go sit on the porch, and here comes this big monarch butterfly,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he went right in front of my face, like, "You are not."
Yes. Yes.
I was like, "You're gonna pay attention to this. I
That's
love you.
right.
Here's a kiss from me." So
So that's my sign. So my sign is the butterfly.
oh,
And
wow.
yeah, my sign is a butterfly. My mom's sign um, is the hummingbird. And, um, the butterflies have played such an amazing role. Sounds really bizarre, but this bright yellow butterfly, um, yellow all over. We would see them, my mom and I, in Alabama when it was about to turn into fall, those sultry days of
Wow,
August. Yeah,
wow.
and it was a harbinger of
Hmm.
change.
Wow.
So when I see the yellow butterfly, that means change. I hate change, by the way. And
No,
and the monarch
nobody likes
butterfly.
change but a wet baby until I had a baby, and he didn't want to be changed either. He didn't wanna be changed.
I love it. I love it. And then the monarch butterfly was the butterfly of freedom,
Oh, man.
change, and freedom. And those were sort of my God signs. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
Deborah, we've known each other for years, and see, I didn't know that butterfly because that's my mother's. You see how God has weaved us together?
Isn't that
I
amazing?
and isn't this amazing? We're just discovering this right
Mhm.
now because we went south to Cabo San Lucas, and there's some time of the year, I think it's like summertime, late summer, the
Uh-huh.
butterflies migrate. They
That's
migrate.
right. That's
And my
right.
mother was standing up on a cliff, and, like, she kinda fell, and the cab driver was like, "Senorita, come down, come down." 'Cause these butterflies. Oh,
She
man, I
was
didn't know that about
surrounded.
you. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Wonder if coincidences are actually miracles.
mm, yeah, I see this. I see signs around all the time and, in songs and clouds and,
Mhm,
other animals and, um, I mean, too many to enumerate really, but I just see it as God's sign language with me. And it's a
yeah.
very personal language. I even so I'm a big fan of Stephen King, and
Oh, okay.
I see this is even nuttier still because, he's the king of the macabre, right? But,
Macabre, yeah.
I see signs when I read his book. Sometimes those characters speak to me, and there are great truths. And by the way, Stephen King is a Christian, and he does have these themes interwoven,
Mm.
so it's not too outrageous. Um, but, I think God speaks to us through people and then through things that we love. And
Mhm.
that's his own personal um, communication with us. It's very profound and it's very touching that he would look at each of us individually
Right.
and know that about us
Mm,
and use
mhm,
it in that
mhm,
way.
mhm. Has
Yeah.
there been when you look back over your life, besides what we just discovered about each other just now, has
Yeah.
there been other people when you look back on it, you can see that it was God making sure your feet didn't stumble off the path?
Yeah, so, wow, there's just sort of a lot to choose from, but I think
Yeah, it is.
I think I'll kind of jump ahead a little bit in the story, and then we can bounce around a little bit, but, I found a card this morning, and I was just rooting around, I was looking for a picture of my father, um,
Mhm.
because I wanted to put it up, and,
Hopefully, you enjoyed the first part of that interview. It's the first part of Halfway Stories with Dr. Deborah Brazeal. Hope you can reflect on your own life and learn something from hearing somebody else's pathway. Well, until next time, tune in to the Prisoners of Hope podcast. God bless. My hope is that this journey has been fruitful and you're able to take it and apply it to your life. Until next time, tune in again for the Prisoners of Hope podcast. God bless.